lots of other a lot of other amazing nutrients in bananas that are readily available. And the more clear kind of picture with that is if you're eating blueberries specifically for a specific antioxidant, then you may not want to mix them with bananas and eat them separately. But anyways, that's a hot topic these days. People like saying like, oh, bananas and smoothies kill the worth of blueberries. And it's like, well, it doesn't really kill all the worth. It does lessen the absorption of some of the nutrients, but you can always eat those separately as well.
Cool. So any other questions or should I come up with something here? Yeah.
Can I get the recipe of the salad banana spicy thingy?
Can she get the recipe of the salad banana spicy thingy?
Let's see. So this is being recorded right now. I
Yes.
have it in one of my newer books, or did I put it? Actually, you know what? Yes, I do have that on my website if you write banana curry, because I did a recipe demo of it a couple months ago. So if you go on my website, The Raw Advantage, and just write banana curry, it'll pop up in a list called Rawsome Recipes, which has, I think, like 160 plus free recipes in there.
Thank you.
Cool. So how do you handle cravings?
Oh gosh. I just give
Yeah.
in, I just completely give in and release to, no, I'm just joking.
You
So,
eat pizza and burgers and you
well, I
do?
mean, I can. I mean, that is one way that I deal with a craving is to make replacements that I feel a lot better about, in all ways. So, of course, like, that I have a pizza book and, Alyssa has an amazing burger book. I have some free burgers on my website, but learning recipes that mimic old favorites so that if you're really craving something, you can make something that is similar, but you feel a heck of a lot better with. And, the thing that's really interesting with that for me is I've gone all different ways. My original way to get over cravings was just to not accept them and to just be like, well, that's not a part of my reality. I do not do that anymore. And just make sure I eat enough and basically kind of deny that there's a craving there. And I mean, that can work definitely up to a point until maybe the proverbial crap really hits the wall and you're really down and out and you really don't care about anything, even yourself. And then you might just go screw it and you might go for that craving, right? Um, and that's what happened to me. And over time, what I came to realize was if I saw that craving as just like a message that something isn't really all together and to look for what I'm missing, what if it's like maybe I'm missing satisfaction, maybe I'm missing purpose, maybe I'm missing comfort. If I look for all those different things that I'm trying to attain with that craving, I'm much more likely to be able to provide myself with what I'm missing outside of that, and then that might just actually go away. Um, but if it doesn't, what the last time I really what I would say binged on cooked food was when I accepted that I was looking for something that I wasn't getting. I couldn't figure out what it was, and then I chose to eat that food. But I chose to eat it with pure consciousness, like a meditation, not feeling bad about it, not judging myself, not judging the food, not thinking that it would make me a lesser person if I had that food. And what I found is when I was actually present with that choice, it wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for things completely outside of it, but I thought that was going to give me what I was looking for. And because of that, actually, that paradigm shifted for me. And all of a sudden, it was like, I knew I could have those foods anytime I wanted. It's just really what are they getting me? And is there other ways that are more effective? So, really diving into that. Um, the last thing that I wanted to mention on that, though, too, was about having the replacements. And the neat thing that I found in my time with raw food is if I did choose something that wasn't really ideal for me, more likely it's going to try and pull me into eating more of those foods. And I've just seen that time and time again in coaching clients. I've felt that myself. It's like take an inch and your mind races and wants a mile. Whereas what I've found is if you find a really good replacement that's a raw food kind of option, it usually takes a bunch more time and it can be amazing. It can be just as good as the original, or it can be pretty close. But usually what I find is when I choose that, I actually want to eat simpler afterwards and I don't want to eat that again and again and again. So to me, it's like really the opposite. It's like, um, the one actually pulls you into doing more and rolling down the hill, and the other one actually strengthens your reasons for eating simpler and more clean foods in the first place.
Do you have any tips for emotional eating when people just numb themselves
Yeah,
with
I mean, I
food?
think I think just exactly what you're saying is the main theme there.
Yeah.
asking why we're trying to numb ourselves, and looking at what is going on in our lives that is causing that much emotional disruption, and seeing if there's a way to actually meet it head on, if there's something that we can do that can alleviate some of that tension, some of that pressure. And if we can do that, that's amazing. Otherwise, accepting that life is going to be challenging, that there's going to be ups and downs, that food is just a salve, and usually it compounds the issue, makes it worse. So it just comes down to breaking the moment, and when our knee's about to jerk and we want to go towards that quick fix, asking ourselves again, like, what am I feeling and what am I needing around this? And what can I do to actually fulfill this need? And try and go for that. Just creating that space when we're about to commit a reaction creates the opportunity for reflection or for a new direction, and if we can choose a new direction that is more likely to give us what we're looking for, it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier in the bigger term. And the Buddha said, this is a simple one. The Buddha said that life is suffering. It's through acceptance of that suffering that we transcend it. And so it's just the rejection or the judgment or the feeling that this is not fair, I shouldn't be suffering, that makes the suffering so much more pronounced. But if we just accept, hey, there's going to be stuff that's going to come up, it's going to be hard. What am I going to choose? What am I going to do about it? Am I going to make it easier, or am I going to compound it on myself by focusing on it and thinking it's not fair?
All right. So now you're from the cold north in Canada and you moved to the cold north in Scandinavia. How the heck do you get through a cold, depressing, dark winter in the north without going crazy
You know, you
and
know the
bad
funny
fruit?
the funny thing is, because I know that you've experienced this pain, but I think because I grew up where the extremes are really extreme, like here in Malmo where I live, it's generally doesn't get much colder than -5, and that's pretty cold in the winter. A lot of times it's like +3 or 4, and in the summer it doesn't seem to get much hotter than like 25 usually, like around there. And in what's it called, in Saskatchewan, Canada, where I'm from, every winter it gets below -40. And I used to work outside 14-hour days in -45, -48 weather, and they only shut down when it was like -50. And then in the summer it gets to like +40. So for me here, I almost feel like I'm in my perfect little niche, because like my ideal temperature is between 15 and 25. If I could live permanently in 15 to 25 with the occasional blast and the occasional blast cold, I'd be a pretty happy camper. Um,
How about the food? Like I know Denmark and Scandinavia in the winter, the food is horrible, the fruit. It's unripe and limited. And yeah, how do you handle that, manage?
I don't know, Louise. Honestly, I don't find it that way.
No?
Maybe I'm just lucky. I mean, sure, it can be better in the tropics and stuff, but I don't know. Like, I'd rather live here than the tropics, being very fully honest. And truthfully, also, I don't find it easier in the tropics to be a raw foodist than to be here, even in the winter. For me, like in the winter months, definitely the produce variety goes down a little bit, the produce quality goes down a little bit. But there's always something I can find that I enjoy. And Sweden, and especially Malmo here, is quite amazing actually compared to a lot of places. And I get a little more creative. I make a little bit more recipes. Mono meals are a little bit less often, and I might mix a couple, like 1 to 3 or 4 ingredients together, or I might make heartier stews and curries and stuff like that more often in the winter time. But other than that, I just get enough calories. I do the best I can, and I focus on the other aspects of health and nutrition outside of food. And I think to me that's one of the main themes that I've come up with repeatedly in the last maybe 5 years is it's all what you focus on, right? It's like if we're focusing on how bad it is and that I can't get my ideal produce, or that it's not as good quality as somewhere else, and I see someone over the fence with the best stuff in the world, I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to be having a hard time. But if I just focus on, well, okay, now I have the opportunity to connect with my friends, to watch more shows, to go to the gym indoors because it's too cold to do my fun stuff outdoors. For me, I'm lucky I have an indoor skate park, so I go skateboarding indoors and I love it. And part of me likes the winter more than the summer because of that, but at the same time, I fully acknowledge that strictly speaking, in terms of produce variety and quality, there's a lull. But that's the truth for anyone in any climate. It's like there's going to be seasons where it's way more abundant and your favorites are just plentiful, and other seasons where it's less abundant and the quality is a little lower. And then it just comes down to, again, like doing the best we can, focusing on the bigger picture and if you need to, take a holiday, go on a trip, right? Like I know you've gotten off to I've gotten off to like Costa Rica and Mexico a whole bunch and Thailand a bit in the winter, but otherwise, you do what you can. Maybe you splurge on ordering stuff in, splurge on a vacation, and otherwise focus on the other aspects of health. And the last thing I'll say though, too, for just staying warm, getting enough calories. I find you need an extra like 200 or 300 calories in the winter if it's really cold and you're going to be in the cold a bunch. And otherwise, dress warm, get some exercise, have fun. Is that a Dr. G? Yeah, what's going on there? How you doing, Dr. D?
Give you a hug, my man. Just want to give you a hug.
Bless you, man. Good to see you. Thank you for the virtual hug. It's been too long for you as well, to see you as well. I need to see you again soon.
Awesome. Yeah, he's been listening in the last 10 minutes.
Oh.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
You've been spied on.
That's fine to see what I'm saying. Uh-oh.
Yeah. So do you just go to the normal supermarket and shop for food, or do you team up with anybody, or how do you save, or what do you do?
I'm definitely a verifiable fruit hunter, right? So any city I go to, one of the first things I like to do is to suss out, like different places, whether that just means looking at the map and looking at fruit stores, researching if there's any wholesalers or reaching out to other raw foodists that are in the area to see if they have any special spots, also looking at farmers markets. And yeah, truthfully, that's one of my favorite things is just to going to different markets and seeing what they have and talking to the people and seeing if they get specialty produce in certain seasons. So here in Sweden, it was pretty quick, actually. I found spots that some of my friends out here hadn't found because I was looking and searching around. And for here in Malmo, the two best places I like to go to are either the daily outdoor market, which is kind of technically a farmer's market. It's called Mulan Van Storgeth. I believe I'm pronouncing it poorly. But it's an outdoor market that some of it is local, some of it is imported, but it's wholesale almost prices, and you can get really fresh, ripe, or a little less ripe. And then I've
How
also
about
found
organic and organic?
some organic, not a ton, but some organic. More non-sprayed or like not fully organic, but less sprayed, like local stuff. And then otherwise just imported conventional, mostly, occasionally organic. And then also I found a really good wholesaler where I can just go direct to the wholesale and get by the case. And I mean, for an example, like I'm generally eating like 3,000 calories a day roughly, and I'm usually spending between about like $200 to $300 a month on food, and that's really inexpensive for this area. But it's mostly because I'm getting cases or just getting like I go to the market and whatever looks decent and is discounted and I'm drawn to, then that's what I get. I usually, enjoy the deals the most.
Oh, and you said you traveled a lot. Like where do you go and why?
Well, I think ever since I was 17, actually younger than that, I mean, 15, 14, I had the travel bug. But most of it in my past was for skateboarding. Whatever my skateboard told me, wherever it wanted to go, I followed it. And then I got more into health and nutrition. And then it was wherever the fruits or the festivals called me, I'd go. And then also surfing. So for me, it's mostly like, either fruit and festivals and friends or skateboarding and surfing that kind of pull me. And so the last 4 years, I haven't traveled as much because I'm going through a residency process here in Sweden. But before that, for like almost 20 years, I guess, yeah, actually 23 years or so, 20 years, something like that. I traveled a heck of a lot, and I think I've probably been to about 35 countries or more, something like that. And lots of them being warm and tropical, but a lot of them just being kind of more temperate to subtropical too.
So which ones were the best to travel to, if you could recommend any to people here?
Well, tough is everyone's thinking like fruit, right? Raw food, not because if I was going to say skateboarding, that's going to be a little different,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. You guys don't want to know the best skateboard spots? I could let you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, so strictly for fruit, I'll be honest, one of my favorite places is Los Angeles. And because they have an amazing wholesale market where you can get stuff for super inexpensive, and they have a wide variety of subtropical fruit and temperate and tropical. And see, that's for me one of the things like there's always a trade-off, right? So somewhere like Los Angeles, that's a big hub, or even here, I can get tropical, subtropical, temperate year-round. The quality isn't always top-notch, but you can get wide variety. And then if I go somewhere like Costa Rica, I love it. I love Costa Rica. That's one place I would definitely recommend people go and check out. It's gotten more expensive over the years, but they have great stuff during seasons. But they just have the tropical varieties. They don't really have much subtropical. They have no temperate, or if they do, it's really expensive and crap. So it's funny. I can be in the tropics for 3 months, and then I miss the stuff that's in the other areas more than when I'm in the other areas missing the tropical. But maybe that's just me. But so I would say Costa Rica is a great one. I really enjoyed Sri Lanka, but that was also a lot of it was surf. Thailand, of course, is well known and amazing. Although I've mostly only been to Bangkok because I was there to meet a friend and skateboard. But I know you know a lot of other even better spots. Let's see, Hawaii was one of my favorite places ever, but very expensive, but very very tasty as well. Um, yeah, geez, yeah,
Bali?
those Bali. I have a I don't want to say unpopular things, but like I really didn't like Bali. I mean, there was pretty good fruit, but it just for me it was like it was so dirty. Like it was like I'd be surfing and going through garbage and diapers every single time I went surfing. And it seemed like the people didn't respect the place and like literally just made it trash. I lived in a kind of trashy place that looked uh, like a poor future, like a Mad Max future. It was really gross. But I know a lot of people do like it, especially if you go to other places. Like if you go to Ubud and you stay mostly there, it feels like its own little commune kind of thing, like fruity, hippie kind of place. But it wasn't my favorite, to be honest. But
Okay.
yeah, but there are a lot of amazing, amazing places. I'll be honest, Louise, I'm loving it here. Like
Yeah, that's
I'd rather
good.
live here and then take trips to those places for a couple weeks at a time.
Cool. Is there any other questions here we should ask Chris? Yeah.
Are you making retreats with Axel?
Are you making a retreat with Axel?
Yeah, we just did one. We've done two together. We did one last fall and we did one this spring. And we're talking about maybe doing another one next summer, but we don't have any set between now and then yet.
Okay. Any others? All right. You have had a lot of accidents over the years, skateboarding and driving motorbikes and stuff.
Yeah,
Can you talk about healing on this diet? Like, how do you do it, and how quick is it, and what happens?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Originally, very truthfully, the main reason I got into health, which, I mean, got into yoga, then got into health, and then that got me into raw food. And the reason from the beginning was all healing faster. It was like, I mean, yes, I was depressed and I wanted to feel better, but ultimately I was depressed because I wasn't healing well and I wasn't able to skateboard at the level I wanted to. And so I got into this really to heal faster so I could hurt myself more and then heal more and then hurt myself more. Kind of a funny thing, right? But I definitely wouldn't have stuck with it if it wasn't advantageous. Like I've found over the years that injuries that I've sustained that are similar before and after, I typically heal in about somewhere between half to two-thirds of the time that it would normally take. And I've seen that agreed upon by my PTs and my chiropractor. And, when I was in the motorcycle accident, my surgeon, he was very, very happy with how well I healed. So how I do it though, that's the beautiful thing. It's like the body is self-organized, self-healing, self-cleansing, self-detoxifying. We don't really got to do much. We just got to provide it with the fuel and the other requirements it needs to thrive. It's just like a house plant. I know Dr. Graham talks about that a lot. Like a house plant might only have a couple needs, like, relatively stable temperature, sunlight, water, and soil, and it's going to thrive. And for us, we have a little bit more than that, but as long as we're getting enough sleep, that's huge for repair. As long as we're getting some stimulation, because there's a misconception that when you're hurt, you want to just be immobile. Realistically, you want to be moving so your body can be doing all of its normal processes in an optimal fashion. And so, if we're getting some exercise, but all relative to what we can do without straining and worsening the condition, we're getting enough water so we can, do everything efficiently. We're getting enough sleep and we're getting enough abundant nutrition. We're going to be healing better than average, and that's the funny thing is too, like I look at it like I did a whole presentation on this a while ago that we're not actually speed healing. It's just everyone else is healing slow, you know? So all we're doing is getting out of our way to allow our body to heal optimally and how it should, you know? And, in severe situations, you may opt to fast. You're going to heal the fastest in that way. Just like animals in nature, when they break a bone, they usually like step away from food and just chill out in a corner for a while. But in the real world, most of us may not have time to do that, and just eating really properly and giving ourselves lots of rest, I found it to work wonders to heal way faster.
Cool. If we go a little bit back to food, you love to make dishes with lots of vegetables in them, like
Yeah,
stew stuff. Why is that? Like, I know a lot of other people, they just choose the fruit, but
yeah.
you have all these creative dishes. Why do you do that? And why do you choose the spices and condiments you use?
Well,
And which ones?
yeah, one thing, I mean, probably I'll give three different reasons. I think for one, the number one for me is what I enjoy. Like I love fruit. I mean, I eat 80+% of my calories from fruit on average, and there are days and weeks, and I've had a few months where I just ate fruit, maybe a little bit of greens here and there, but just fruit. But over the months and years, I've definitely noticed that I appreciate, enjoy, and find lots of benefit from including lots of greens and veggies to my diet. And while I do have, fruity dinner sometimes, I just find I enjoy and feel more satiated and more, I guess, physically, mentally, emotionally full and calmed by eating a more vegetable-based meal at the evening. And so it's just, I guess, been something that over time, eating anything and everything, I've just predictably been led back to eating more of those more often at the dinner time. The second reason I'd say I do it also is, the more I learn and the more people I learn from, the more I see that that is generally what people do that are long-term succeeding really, really at high levels. And, the nutritional science recommends, that we include a significant amount of leafy greens and or veggies. They can be kind of interchangeable as a way to get more dense mineralization, higher levels of EFAs, and higher levels of protein. Um, Also, I'd say, in part, when the winter season is going on, kind of like you mentioned before, if it's really cold out, if there's not as great quality tropical fruits and stuff like that, I'm going to be also leaning more towards the veggies to fill in and fill those gaps in. So I could say, going on this and on the last question you're mentioning, if I lived in the tropics and I was, in that kind of environment and eating top quality tropical fruit, I'd probably be eating a little bit more fruit and a little bit less vegetables. But the lower the quality of your produce or the less tropical fruit you're eating, the more advantageous it is to add in more vegetables to, again, for that denser mineralization and the higher EFAs that aren't as prevalent in the what's it called, temperate fruits, stuff like that. So that's another reason why. And then I guess the third reason would be I enjoy the creativity. Like my first 5 years as a raw foodist, I was really simple, hygienic. I didn't touch an onion, any spices, a hot pepper. I thought they were bad and evil, and I shouldn't have them, and they destroy my health. And then I started experimenting with them, and I also recognized that there's a lot of people who want a little bit more variety, that want to have some nostalgia. They want to, try dishes that they used to love, but make it raw food to feel like they're not missing out. And so I started experimenting and wanted to fill that niche because 15 years ago, there really wasn't a lot of like low fat raw gourmet. It was really either like hygienic, simple recipes or like super high fat gourmet. Like that's how polarized, at least that's how I saw it. And so I wanted to try and come in between there and create low fat raw gourmet dishes, as I mentioned, to mimic old favorites and fill that spot for nostalgia without going into a nut coma or feeling really crappy after eating it. So those would be the main three things. Like I just love it and I feel like I'm drawn to it the longer I've been doing it. That's what the longest term raw foodies I know and the people I've coached have found a lot of success in. And then just for creativity and fun.
So which 5 ingredients or condiments do you use the most when you make creative dishes?
Oh, that's a good one. It does change over the years. It's definitely drastically changed. But if I was looking over the last 15 years, the most consistent would probably be Ginger, I think of all the kind of like irritating kind of ones, whether we're saying ginger, garlic, onions, hot peppers, ginger is my favorite of those. Ginger, cilantro, which I guess is kind of on the fence of being even included in this talk, but I love cilantro a lot. Cumin has for a long time been one of my all-time favorite kind of spices. And curry. I mean, I love curry powder. I don't know if I was East Indian or Indian in the past, but I could have curry every night and be very happy. But I could also go without for a long time if I want.
And favorite vegetables for dishes?
Probably, if we're talking strict vegetables, and greens included in that, I'd say Napa cabbage is probably my number one. It's really nutritious, really inexpensive per pound, really compact. So like you can fit a lot of poundage of it in a small area. It lasts really well, so you can have it in the fridge for a week or two if you need to. So sometimes I buy a case of them. And I mentioned they're really nutritious per calorie, but they're also because they're so compact, they're easy just to slice into noodles. So I usually just slice them into noodles, and that's my favorite noodle of all time. So the Napa cabbage would be number one. Um, Number two might be bok choy. I haven't been eating it a lot out here because it's more expensive here, but back home in Canada, it's the same price as Napa, so I eat a lot of that. Uh, I actually I love mushrooms. It's funny. I wouldn't really put them on my top five in terms of like, comparing them against the Napa cabbage for like a mainstay, but I really do enjoy mushrooms when I have them in dishes. Like I like to slice them and partially dehydrate them for curries or chilies and stuff like that. Uh, I love cauliflower. Out here we call it bloom call. But I actually
Oh,
I really love cauliflower, but mostly I like freezing it and then thawing it, and then that way it's actually easier to digest. It tastes more cooked, but there's very minimal nutrient loss, and I find it easier to digest that way too. So I love that in a curry or in a chili or anything like that. Um, Iceberg. I love iceberg lettuce. It's one of my favorite simple green lettuces. I love arugula. I know you love arugula. You introduced me to the banana arugula smoothies. I absolutely love that. But I'd say those are probably my favorite. I mean, tomatoes, but they're not really a veggie. But I mean, tomatoes. Come on, I could just have
yeah.
tomato meals.
So, I know you have a dehydrator. How important is it to have one, and like how much do you use yours?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a dehydrator for the first 10 plus years as a raw foodist. I mostly use it for partially dehydrating mushrooms. Like, truthfully, that's what I use it the most often for. Otherwise, for, putting whole bananas in there, making banana dongs, just dehydrating them overnight. I really mostly for myself started using it to develop recipes more for books and for nostalgia and for people, helping people with cravings and transition. And while doing that, I made a lot of recipes that I enjoyed, but like I have an entire pizza book, which they're really dang delicious pizzas. But I'll be honest, I probably make 5 pizzas a year, and usually it's for other people, which I still eat and I enjoy. I love them, but I don't go all out and use the dehydrator all the time for lots of recipes just because I'm truthfully very lazy. I usually use it more for simple partial dehydrating or when I have a creative kind of spirit where I'm just like, I want to try something else and make something new. But that's about it.
Okay, and then you have a vacuum blender from,
Yes.
yeah, what does that do, and is that important?
Has anyone out there tried vacuum blending? Anyone there really played with it? No one? Okay, so the simple concept of vacuum blending is to pull as much of the oxygen as you can out of the blender container before you blend it. And what that does is it whips less air bubbles into the smoothie itself, which leads to less oxidization or destroying of the antioxidant value of the food itself, because it's the oxygen interacting with the antioxidants that changes their structure and then lessens their beneficial properties. And so it's really amazing. But if you compare like a regularly blended smoothie compared to a well vacuumed smoothie, the regular one tastes frothy. Like it actually like feels kind of frothy and air bubbly, and you're more prone to burp. Takes more volume. Like it actually like the same weight of food is a little bit bigger in the blended one because there's air whipped into it. And usually the color is lighter and then goes brown faster. Whereas the vacuum blended one, it literally tastes more wet. Like there's no air bubbles. It's weird. It tastes more watery. even if it's a banana smoothie with zero water in it, it tastes watery. And the flavor is stronger because there's less air bubbles and it lasts longer and it separates less fast. So I just use my Vitamix. I put a plastic kind of bladder on top that's kind of like one of those stretchy plastic, like a silicone kind of stretchy things on top to cover up a dish. I put my lid on and then I got a vacuum pump from a company called BioChef. And I just put it right on top and vacuum it up. And yeah, it's amazing. It's pretty fun. It's not one of those things that I think like is going to make or break your lifestyle in any way, shape, or form. But it's one of those kinds of things. Once you go back, it's hard to go back, because it's just you notice the difference in taste and texture. And so I will do both, but given the opportunity, I will always vacuum.
Okay. So we only have a few minutes left. What's coming up for you in your life in the future? What's any fun things, retreats, anything you want to share?
Well, I do have a lot of fun stuff behind the scenes. Some embarrassingly long-standing upgrades to my website that have taken much more time and dollars than I ever thought they would. It's like 3 years in the going and some setbacks. But so I'm going to be launching basically the ability to utilize any of my free recipes or any of my recipes from my books in like a meal planning kind of situation where you can like make your own meal plans and shopping lists and actually have it ordered and sent direct to your door from the site and cool stuff like that and nutritional breakdowns and blah 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 blah. So that'll be going on. I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
Some bundle stuff going up in the future. And otherwise, I'm kind of taking like a mediocre half year for myself right now, where I'm just taking it a little bit easier. Pulled myself thin a few times. Often I say it's the curse of the hygienist. When you learn about all this stuff, you start to want to save the world, and you feel like it's like part of your responsibility. But kind of stepping back and taking a little bit more chill time for myself, behind the scenes stuff. And because I'm doing this residency, I'm not really traveling much. So just chilling. And right now I'm healing from a long-standing injury that I haven't given myself enough time to heal. So it's extra chill time for me this summer.
We have Melissa coming up a bit later, and her and Nate are going to talk about micro sprouting and
Nice.
microbiome.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, do you sprout and do you think about your microbiome?
It's really funny. Before I got into raw food, so 20 years ago, I was actually, I guess it would have been like 22 years ago, I was really into sprouting. Like I had multiple sprout baskets in every windowsill around my house and I really enjoyed it. And I'd have like a shower filter and I'd just bring them into the shower and shower them off. And then when I first got into raw food and the hygiene approach, it didn't really talk super highly about sprouts. And I let go of them. I didn't really eat them for quite a long time. I'd say probably the last 7 years, I've introduced sprouts into my lifestyle again. And these days I sprout once in a while, but more often it's like lentil sprouts, mung bean sprouts. I love black lentil sprouts, chickpea sprouts. And yeah, probably the last 2 years, I've had them much more than I had in the previous 18 years. But then I also go periods without them. And I'm in some ways divided whether I enjoy having them more or not, but they are definitely, a different texture, different flavor, different nutrient density, really inexpensive way to get like really fresh living vegetables in your life. And I enjoy having them a part of my diet or not having them a part of my diet, but they're a heartier one, like I like that hearty feeling sometimes.
And just quickly, do you consider your microbiome in any way?
I do, but it's not a top priority. Like I absolutely know that through eating a variety of fruits and vegetables and basically living a fruit and veggie based lifestyle that I have a more diverse, balanced microbiome than the average person. And, there's definitely something to be said about getting more variety and striving to get more variety. I tend to do that over the season and the year rather than trying to get as much variety as I can at any meal or any day. I'm not concerned about it in that way. I kind of look at it as like an ecosystem, and like if we look at a pond in the tropics, well, it's going to have a specific ecosystem to that pond in the tropics, and we don't need to put every single, little teeny microbe or insect from other ecosystems into that one. So I'm not trying to get the most diverse ecosystem that's ever been. I'm just looking to get an ecosystem that is based on a healthy, happy balance of what a person in nature normally would have. So I don't know if that really answers your question or not, but yeah, I do consider
Right.
it. I do consider it, but I'm not stressed about it. And I enjoy variety, but I'm not trying to force variety all the time. But I think it all comes down to what do you enjoy and what keeps you happy and feeling balanced and successful long term with this. And whether that's tons of variety in the day or tons of variety in the week and month and year, I think both can be great options.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge. We're really appreciative. And yeah, I think we're just going to say goodbye from here and give you a big hand.
Much love, everyone. I wish I could give you a hug in real time. Thanks for the questions and the fun and for connecting.
Awesome. And have a great summer in Sweden.
I will hopefully see you in a little while, Louise. And
We
see you
will.
guys
We
another
will.
place, time and place.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Wendy is here.
Oh, hey, Wendy. Hello. See you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks.
It was
Thanks
fun.
for having you. Thanks for
Of
coming.
course. Say hello to Lissa and Nate and have a fun time later too and all the rest of the festival.
We will. Awesome.
Much
Bye.
love.
Bye.
Bye-bye.